As with any industry, as soon as you get more people, as soon as you get an influx of people coming in and competing for that airspace, you're going to naturally make it harder for everybody else. The thing that is really cool for me is I've been in this for 7 years now. And the only big impact that all the extra competition has is really just push the market forward. You can take Amazon, for example. Amazon came around and revolutionized the shipping space. Before Amazon, 5 to 7 day shipping was kind of expected. No one really thought much of it. Amazon comes out with next day shipping, same day shipping, 2-day shipping, and completely shook up the entire landscape, not only for drop shipping, but e-commerce as a whole.
Okay, welcome everybody to hashtag Ad by Penji. This is a podcast where we discuss everything influencer marketing related. We talk tips to help assist you in your influencer journey, and we do so much more. I'm your host, Daniela, and I'm Penji's influencer coordinator. And today I'm joined here with a very special guest, Brendon Jorssen. Hi, Brendon. How are you?
Good, Danielle. How are you?
I'm doing good. We're very happy to have you on the podcast today. For anybody listening that doesn't know about you or who you are and what you do, can you give us a little bit of a rundown of you?
For sure. So a couple different things. I'm an e-commerce entrepreneur. I also do social media. So I've just under 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, grown a TikTok following to around 100,000 subscribers or followers, sorry. And then Instagram just under 15,000. And then I also have an e-commerce development agency. So we help people build e-commerce businesses, train them on how to run it, and support them at every step of the way.
That's very interesting. Penji is an outsourcing platform for graphic design. And it naturally brings about a lot of people who want to do ecom or who are trying to do ecom. So we have a lot of listeners who are very interested in that aspect, especially with things like drop shipping or sites like Shopify and Amazon. And that's kind of like your bread and butter, right?
Exactly, exactly. Everything to do with e-commerce, and the outside outsourcing side is not even just limited to the e-commerce. It's also on social media. I've been outsourcing things on different platforms for as long as I can remember. As long as I've been in business, I've been outsourcing. So definitely some synergies there.
Yeah, definitely. So I think lately I think we've seen the sort of surge of people trying to do e-commerce. What do you think that how has that affected you or, the market in general, where I think we see a lot more people trying to join in this new wave of like trying to sell things on Shopify and Amazon? Is it harder for you to stand out? Is it harder for you to have more clients, or is it pretty much the same?
The short answer is yes. As with any industry, as soon as you get more people, as soon as you get an influx of people coming in and uh, competing for that airspace, you're going to naturally make it harder for everybody else. Um, the thing that is really cool for me is I've been in this for 7 years now, um, and the only big impact that all the extra competition has is really just push the market forward. You can take Amazon, for example. Amazon came around and revolutionized the shipping space. Before Amazon, 5 to 7 day shipping was kind of, expected. No one really thought much of it. Amazon comes out with next day shipping, same day shipping, 2-day shipping, and it completely shook up the entire landscape, not only for drop shipping, but e-commerce as a whole. And so what it did was force everyone else in the space to compete with that and to find ways to also have faster shipping. So I think if you're someone who's in it as a hobby, as a get rich quick, as a side hustle, yes, it makes it really difficult because no longer can you just throw together a website, put some ads together with a random product that may or may not work, who knows, and make some money. Back in 2016, 2017, 2018, that was the case.
Thing, yeah.
And nowadays you just can't do that. You really have to make sure that everything you're doing from start to finish is at the highest quality that you possibly can do it at.
And you definitely need to have more intention, I think, before you could just whip up whatever and people would, just purchase it from you. I think now the competition is a lot bigger, so you need a better product to offer or people are not gonna be inclined to buy it, right?
Exactly, exactly. It's a huge part of it. Not just like the fulfillment side of it, but you're right. The product as well. Like I said, the some selling products that may or may not work used to be a thing, you know, or you could sell like a mug and people will buy and you can make a few $100,000 doing it. Now it's not really the case.
So for other platforms, I know like you said, like Amazon has really sort of shifted the game for drop shipping and e-commerce as a whole, but I think other platforms that have been gaining a lot of traction from other countries, like in China, where they have Shein and Temu and a lot of these different sites. In Asia, Shopee is a really big drop shipping platform. Have they influenced the way that you handle drop shipping nowadays, or has it largely been affected by Amazon strictly?
I think it's everyone as a whole. The main area that those Chinese companies have impacted is that where originally, like I said, 5, 6 years ago, dropshipping was selling these cheap products. You could, you know, buy it for a dollar or 2, sell it for $20, and that's where people were making money. Now these big Chinese companies that have the scale and have the volume to ship giant quantities of product and buy giant quantities of product, they're now taking over that space. And so the place that leaves opportunity for us you know, your everyday drop shippers is to build real brands and not just to sell those quick here today, gone tomorrow products. Because you're never going to compete with Amazon on shipping times and you're never going to compete with Temu on cost, right? You're never going to get lower than Temu. But the place that they can't compete with you on is customer service, is building a brand, is working with influencers. There's a wide range of areas that you have to look to say, okay, where is their opportunity, and where can I compete that they can't?
So you kind of have to sort of shift your view, right? Basically, from, obviously you're not going to give. So I think these sites are also very interesting to me how they immediately jump onto trends. Like they have crazy algorithms that can just start selling everything that is cool at the moment. Even if it's just going to be cool for 2 weeks, you're going to find it on, on Shein.
Exactly, exactly, and it's so funny to see that because those are the products that when I first got into dropshipping, like that's what I was selling. I was selling those trendy products. I was selling those cheap things from China. Um, but yeah,
And
it's interesting to see how quickly they can come to market with things for sure.
yeah, it's definitely a change. So I think we also have like a lot of people who outsource their so we have a lot of people who do drop shipping here at Penji who are outsourcing the graphic design aspect of it. But obviously there are a lot of more of factors that come into having a successful e-com business, right? You have like finance, you have marketing, you have, like, a lot of things, and we have a lot of people who really struggle with everything outside of their own product, especially business owners who are, like, like, they started making candles, and then it's like, "Oh, I'm gonna start my candle business or something, or my mug," and
Yeah.
that it's like, "Okay, but now I have to, like, do the marketing for it, do the financial side of it, like, how am I gonna actually calculate my profits and all of these things?" What would you say to those people who are a bit overwhelmed by all of the different aspects that come into actually doing this?
Yeah, it's something that I think everyone as a business owner goes through at one point or another in their life. Um, I don't know, are you able to hear the sirens in the background?
Yeah,
Oh, here, sorry.
it's fine,
Okay,
don't worry.
maybe that's better.
Yeah, that's better, that's better.
Okay, sorry. What would I say to those people? I would say you're not alone, first of all. I think the biggest thing with getting into business is that people feel like the journey that they're on, they're alone in it. And maybe it might feel like that, but there's so many resources and ways to help yourself get out of that rut. I know for myself, what I did when I was in that situation was really break everything down and say, okay, I have all these different things I need to do, but how can I break them down into bite-sized tasks? So, for example, if you need to build out your website and uh, get product photos, and you need to set up your supplier, and you need like there's all these different things you need to do. Get a piece of paper out and just write each individual task down, um, and then say to yourself, "Okay, is this a task that I'm best doing myself, or is my money better spent outsourcing this?" And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be better if you have the budget, of course, to outsource it. And a company like Penji, where you guys offer all these different resources to be able to outsource different aspects of starting, running, growing a business, um, and for a relatively inexpensive price, is a game changer. Like when I first started out, there wasn't all these companies like Penji out there to provide these resources. The only option we really had was Fiverr, and if anyone knows anything about Fiverr, it's very difficult to work with people on Fiverr. So, yeah,
Yeah.
break it down into bite-sized pieces.
I think with platforms like Fiverr, Upwork, these kind of freelancing sites, they're very popular, they're very big, and there's obviously a lot of great people there that could probably do a lot of really amazing work. What happens is that they're so saturated with freelancers and, like, the demand for both work and the demand for workers is so high that it's really hard to just filter through so many people, I think for both sides, that it can be really, really we get a lot of people who are very frustrated with that part of outsourcing. I think outsourcing people that come to Penji looking for different ways to outsource a lot of times are very, like, stressed out because they're like, "I don't have the bandwidth to do this," right? Or, "I'm not a designer, I don't wanna be a designer. I wanna focus on my product. I don't wanna focus on this, and I don't wanna learn how to do things, but I can't find the right person to do it for me," which is, I think, like, a big issue that a lot of people face.
For sure, for sure. And it kind of goes back to the saying, you don't know what you don't know. And so if you're first of all, you're like, okay, well, I don't really know how to do graphic design. I want to outsource it to someone. Well, what skills do they need? I don't really know because I don't know how to do graphic design.
Yeah.
And so it leaves so much up to trial and error. And I've wasted countless hours, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on different freelancers just trying to find the right one. I was actually recently I was going back through some of my receipts on some of these other freelance platforms. I was shocked at how much money I've spent on freelancers that did not provide the value that I paid them. So it's nice to see a company like Penji coming up and helping people like myself with all that.
Actually, Penji started because we saw this sort of hole in the industry and this need for someone to fill that gap, and we kind of just started to work on it towards it because that is very true, like you said, that frustrating feeling of not finding someone for you is very present in a lot of business owners. I think for any kind of outsourcing, not just graphic design, which is what Penji does, but I think I've seen that frustration in people who are doing with video content, SEO, people who need outsourcing for even financial aspects of it, hiring an employee. I think a lot of times that can be very jarring, which is starting to have a team of your own that you need to be responsible for as your business keeps growing, right? Like it's great that it's growing, but also then you're like overwhelmed with how do I actually scale this? Like, what is all of this?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It can get it's so overwhelming when you're a beginner. It's so overwhelming. And it's a big thing that I like to work on with clients of my own is how do we optimize how you're doing your workflow? How do we put whether it's a person in place or a company in place to relieve some of that stress?
So you obviously help people with their own drop shipping businesses. What platform are you currently recommending that is best for drop shipping? I think Shopify is really big, Amazon, Etsy is really big. Which one do you think right now is the best one?
Yeah, the by far Shopify. I know there's a lot of people who do Walmart drop shipping or Amazon drop shipping, Etsy drop shipping. My whole philosophy with drop shipping is that the goal is not to just sell some products on a marketplace, make a little bit of money, and call it a day. The goal for drop shipping for me is to use it as a testing ground to build a real brand around products and to have a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year time horizon, not a 1 month, 2 month, 3 month time horizon. And so for that, Shopify is the best platform for it. It allows you to build your own business instead of building someone else's business. If you're selling on Amazon, you're just building up Amazon, you're building up their platform. If you're selling on Etsy, it's the same thing. When you sell on Shopify, it's really the ball is in your court. And I've heard countless horror stories on both sides with Amazon, with Etsy, of different things happening to people, listings getting shut down.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I like to be in control, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like, in general, you wanna sort of be able to have some kind of creative control and financial control of what you are doing, right? And you don't wanna depend on something failing because then that means that your failure is also gonna happen.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, and a big thing with Amazon that happens is there's an everything bagel seasoning that was going viral on TikTok, and they were selling on yeah, they were selling on Amazon, and they were number 1 listed for the longest time in their category, whatever. All of a sudden, the founder woke up, and Amazon had moved their category to a slightly different category that was more competitive. Because of that, they lost their Amazon bestseller rank. They, I believe their sales got cut in half, or cut by a lot, and Amazon came out with their own Amazon version of everything bagel seasoning. So it's a bit of a conflict of interest when you have a marketplace as well as a seller who's the same effect, like the same company. And it's stories like that just make me want to stay away from selling on Amazon.
How do you even compete with that when Amazon is such a huge company and you're, like, one person, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Especially when you're in their shoes. Like when you're tied to Amazon,
Yeah.
it's
It's
difficult.
it's really difficult. Another thing that I mean, I'm curious. I think with the drop shipping industry, we've seen a surge of people wanting to get into drop shipping, but I think you've also seen a surge of people giving advice on drop shipping such as yourself. But I think we find a lot of people who are giving very questionable advice online on what to do. There's also like a lot of get rich quick schemes out there, right? A lot of like, this is how I make $1 million while I'm asleep videos. And um it's sort of created this, I would say, negative connotation around drop shipping because it makes it seem like it's all just a scam, or it's like you're not doing it, like the advice is not real. How do you counter all of that, negative energy that has been flowing around this?
It's difficult, to be quite honest with you, and it's something that I've wrestled with for a few years now. The main thing is really trying to re-educate people and have my own message on it. A lot of these things, when you see these get rich quick kind of mantras uh, online, it's just it's the outcome of what social media has done, which is basically sensationalized everything around us. And when you're scrolling on TikTok, if you see this guy jumping off this cliff with no parachute, and you see this guy doing this crazy thing and this happening, and then you see a video on here's how in 5 months you're going to make $1,000 profit, hopefully, and then you're going to scale the business over the next 12 months. No one cares about that.
Yeah.
Whereas if if you hear, Here's how to make $10,000 in 25 days." Wow, now I wanna watch, right?
Yeah.
So, it's really for me, I also think there's 2 kinds of people, to answer your question. There's 2 kinds of people. There's the people that will see that and get got by it and be like, "Oh my gosh, this sounds so real, like, I need to get on this right now." And then there's the other subsection of people who say, "This is clearly not how the world works." And so I focus on reaching out to those people who have a real more realistic understanding of how the world works, of how business works. That if something is too good to be true, or if something seems too good to be true, it probably is, rather than going after the people who are just money hunting.
Yeah, I think in general, like, when something sounds too good to be true, it's most likely not true, right? I think I'm sort of I when I was younger and I would see those videos, I would fall for it because I would think like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna be rich and then I'm gonna fix my life." And then, when you actually start looking into it and seeing like the advice that people are giving, it's not even very real or very applicable to the normal person, because a lot of times I've seen a lot of people who talk about this and they're not mentioning how much money needs to be invested into all of this before you actually start to see any kind of revenue or profit from it.
Exactly. Like that, you hit the nail on the head there. Recently there's been a big influx of these AI drop shipping stores, get a free AI store. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but essentially the idea is like, okay, sign up, watch my course, it's completely free and the entire thing is free. And it's like, well, no, it's not. You have to pay for all these platforms. You also have to pay for advertising, which is something that people grossly underestimate. Like advertising costs a lot of money. And getting back to your question about, how's the landscape changed? There's more money being spent on Facebook and TikTok ads than ever before. And so when you have that, it's really difficult to stand out as a small business owner or a small business creator, um, because your 20 or $30 a day in ad spend doesn't go nearly as far as it used to. And a lot of times people get into this and they say, okay, well, I have a budget of $200 and they might have saved up a couple months to get that two or $300, but it's just not enough, right? Because you have so many expenses. You have to spend money on ads. There's a lot of testing that's involved. Um, and it's not a cheap way to start a business. It is a cheaper way to start a business than other business models.
Yeah.
You still need money.
Anything that I think you're gonna start, you need to start it with money backing you up before you actually do it, right? Like you said, that is very common to see people saying like, "Oh, here I have $0 and now I have 1,000,000."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? Like I'm when I first started in the online space as well, I was incredibly young at the time and also sucked into the sensationalization of everything. And I also realized that, if I want to get views, I have to kind of sensationalize everything. And so I've posted a few videos here and there 4, 5 years ago about here's how to start dropshipping with $0 or here's the $0 dropshipping challenge. And it wasn't until, a year after I posted that where I said to myself, this is just completely misleading. This is just wrong. And so, being on the other side, I should say it's interesting being on both sides because I've been in the shoes of someone who wants to learn. I've been in the shoes of someone who knows, and I've been in the shoes of the person teaching. So I can understand the perspective from everyone and uh, why things get presented in the way that they do.
Yeah, the need for clickbait, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think what's important is just to sort of be able to see through that because I think there are a lot of very valuable creators like yourself or, people who give valuable advice through a lot of clickbait, right? So you have to be able to sort of put that aside and understand that, okay, this was to get my attention, but now let's actually see what the real advice is and not, not get carried away. I think a lot of people just get carried away by titles and, by the big words that they see, and then that's what they hold dear to them.
For sure, definitely. And it's kind of like the newspaper method where they put this crazy headline that says this insane thing, gets you to read, and when you actually read it, it's not a whole lot there. Middle. Um, it's something that I found quite interesting because although I've noticed that when you do those things, yes, you get more views, of course, but the quality of those views is substantially lower. And so what I've been doing over the past 2 to 3 years is really just focusing on the quality of people who I'm speaking to rather than the quantity of them. Um, and what I've noticed with that is like, for example, my YouTube channel, I'm at between 8 or 9,000 subscribers right now. That's nothing crazy. But the amount of impact I'm able to have on people is that of those um, 10 times larger than me because I've focused on talking directly to those people who actually want to learn, who are really interested in business more than just trying to make a little bit of money. And I think from the creator's perspective, it just depends on how do you want to find your audience.
And I think in general, it's more, I think you have more longevity, even if the number is not like a crazy number. Because I've seen way too many people who have a lot of subscribers on YouTube or a lot of followers on TikTok or Instagram or whatever platform. But those followers are, you know, they're not there for these people. They're not watching the videos. They probably saw one viral thing that you made in 2012 and, you know, they subscribed when they were 12 and now they forgot about it or Like, and for example, for us as a brand, when we're looking for partner collaborations, we're looking at someone who is gonna have an active audience, right? So in the long run, you could have 1,000,000 subscribers, but if they don't engage with you, it's gonna be a lot less valuable for us than if you have the 9,000 people that are genuinely looking to your content and care about your recommendations and your opinions and the things that you say, because we are gonna see more ROI from that than from someone who, doesn't have a good quality of viewers.
Exactly. And for me, working with so many brands, I've noticed the same thing. And I've tried to keep the same mindset through everything that I do, whether it's my own companies, whether it's social media, my day-to-day life. Um, and that is just to be genuine, be authentic, and lead with value and put whoever I'm talking to first. Um, I've noticed that on the agency side, when I run my businesses like that, the results I get from my clients are exponentially higher, thus allowing me to charge more money because I'm getting such incredible results. When we look at the social media side of things, when I talk to other people in the industry about my deals with brands or how I'm getting compensated, people are really surprised because I have a relatively small following. You would think that okay, these brands aren't converting very well. But in fact, my audience is one of the highest converting on a percentage basis over creators that have hundreds of thousands, even millions of subscribers. And the reason for that is the same thing, is that I put the audience first, and I'm speaking to people who are genuinely interested, have bringing genuine value to them, and they benefit because they're getting a much better service, and I benefit because I get rewarded in proportion to how much I'm benefiting the people. So it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like you hit the nail on the head with that. Like I think quality over quantity right now is very big because we've also seen a surge of creators who are easily getting a lot of followers, right? Who are easily getting a lot of content out, especially when they put out the more controversial type of content that's gonna get you a bunch of views and get you a bunch of like people talking about it. But in the end, what you're looking for when it comes to partner collaborations is quality.
Exactly, exactly. I try to really have that mindset in every facet of business. And it's kind of relates back to what I was talking about before with, how what do you need to do differently now in drop shipping than previously? And it's the quality. It's putting your customer first. It's not treating this like a side hustle, treating it like a real business and trying to have real impact on the people you're selling product to.
Yeah, definitely. Brendan, it's been great having you on the podcast today. I think a lot of our customers and a lot of our listeners are very into drop shipping. Obviously, we have a lot of drop shipping people on Penji. For anybody who wants to work with you, who wants to learn from you, who would want to hear more from you, the floor is yours to talk about any interesting projects or tell us where your platforms are so that people can go and find you.
For sure. So we've been working on a ton of incredible projects recently, partnering with different influencers to build up their brands, and start dropshipping businesses around their audiences. Also partnering with everyday people who are looking to grow the revenue that they currently have coming in. Maybe it is start have some sort of other stream of income. So yeah, we've been doing some exciting things. If you are someone who wants to work with me and get in touch with the team and see if we'd be a good fit to work together, my YouTube channel is my YouTube channel is Brendon Jorssen. My Instagram is Brendon.Jorssen, and you can reach out to me on either of those platforms. YouTube's a great place to get to know me a little bit better and see exactly what we have in store. And if you'd like to reach out, Instagram would be the place, Brendon.Jorssen. And yeah, I'm excited to work with anyone who comes through here, and maybe we can find some sort of special discount. So if you do come from this podcast, DM me the word Penji, and we'll work something out for you.
We definitely will. I will be adding all of your links to the podcast description so that anybody can go in and find you. And everybody, thank you, Brendan, for being on the call today.
Thank you so much for having me, Daniela.
Thank you. Everybody, I'll see you guys on the next episode.